So let's start by constructing a line. You should do this on your paper. And then somewhere off to the side, we want point P. Now, what we've done up to this point, we've found how to construct the perpendicular bisector of a segment. Can we find the perpendicular bisector for a line?
No, because it said that.
Yeah, well, a line.
You can't find the midpoint.
You can't find the midpoint of a line. The midpoint doesn't have any. Well, what was the definition of a midpoint?
Half infinity.
Half of infinity. Yeah, so that's a kind of a troubling concept. The midpoint that we've been working with before was the midpoint of a segment, and there we said, well, it divides the segment into two congruent segments. We don't really have any way of talking about congruent rays or congruent infinite things. So we can't really do the same thing, but we can have a perpendicular to a line. And in particular, we're going to look at coming up with a perpendicular to the line, and that perpendicular needs to go through point P. So this is kind of a challenge to you to find a way, using just your compass, not a protractor, just the compass and the straight edge, find a way to construct a line that goes through P and which is perpendicular to this line. So I want you to think about that, see what you come up with, without using your protractor. Well, you can use a straight edge, but one thing you can't use is the corner of the straight edge, because that's really just like using a protractor. In other words, you're not going to use a reference for 90 degrees. You're not going to measure a 90-degree angle. The compass, so yeah, you can use one of these, and you can use the straight edge, just the straight edge of it, not like the right angle part.
I figured it out, I think. I might have figured it out.
There are a couple of big ways of doing it.
So, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
So, oh, okay. You're trying to adjust, keep adjusting the.
Oh, yeah, you could.
No.
Wait.
Yeah, but how do you find that point to start with? You're relying on a graph paper. That's a challenge with one hand. Oh, wow. Mine's What if your line is longer?
Yeah, no, that's why it's just all
So you can draw your line longer.
think about it. Yeah, like that.
I have an idea. You just fold it. It goes like this, and then you can just draw like that. I measured from these sides, like to do both.
Yeah, how did you figure out where to put the point of the compass to draw that arc?
I just put a random point. But as long as it intersects P, could you just fold it?
So, I've seen an idea a couple of times show up that goes like this. You pick a point on the line and you draw an arc that passes through this point. And then you would use the place where that intersects to do something. Maybe like this. Now, the ones that if you did this and showed it to me, you're saying, but Mr. Dennison, that's not what I did. because the sort of classic way that people do this is they set this up so that when they make this arc, the point of the compass is already pretty much where they think it ought to be on that perpendicular. And it tends to kind of sort of work out. The problem is that in reality, you don't know where to put that first point. So this ends up defining something that isn't going to give you a perpendicular, because that's going to run like that. That's clearly not going to work. So keep trying. Ethan.
Can I try it on that?
Sure.
So you put,
Let me draw a line back here. Want to come up and try it on screen? Ooh, real close. That last arc you did, what if it were a little bit longer?
And you can go under.
Yeah, both sides.
Doesn't matter.
That's great, Ethan. So, thank you. What Ethan did is he started out by putting his point here on P, swung an arc that went past that line. Now these 2 points where that crossed the line, because this was a single arc, those points are equidistant from P. So it's as if these are the endpoints of a line segment for which this is on its perpendicular bisector. And then you go and use these endpoints to do what would have been a perpendicular bisector construction.
Wait, how do you do that again?
So you start with the point on P and swing an arc down below the line. And then you use these 2 intersection points to make 2 more arcs that are the same radius. And those 2 intersection points, together with the original P, should be on a line. Let's see if that worked. And look at that, it does. Pretty well. Nice. So that's essentially the textbook method for constructing a perpendicular through a point not on the line. And I could show you a shortcut too to go with that. Some people figure this out too. So if you've got that line and the point, again, so this is Ethan's method. Put your point on that. And you can swing part of an arc.
Oh, yeah.
Now the last piece, you can just make another crossing that's below the line. And that's all you really need, because you know this point P has to be on that perpendicular. This is equidistant from the same 2 points that that is. So these are the 2 points that you need. You only need 2 to define the line. So this basic construction, and if I continue that arc, this construction where you've got the perpendicular and a smile with an X underneath it, that's the sort of thing I'm going to be looking for when I'm looking at your work to see how you did a perpendicular through a point. There are other ways to do it. This is the textbook method. If you come up with another way of doing it, before you start using it in everything you do, check it out with me, because Some people
Is
have
there
interesting
other
ideas. Sorry?
ways? Is there other ways?
Yep, there are. I don't want to confuse you right now by showing you too many, but if you can think of some, show me. And if it's good, you can use that. I don't mind.
My way is just like not as good as his, though, right? Because it's like his, except not quite there.
Well, Kyle, actually, what you did kind of leads into the conjecture that we're going to do today.